welcome everyone on here. I want to give a big warm welcome to everybody hopping on tonight. Welcome to the School of Potential and to our group of conscious creators here. Super excited to have you guys join us. We have got something really special planned for you to dive into kind of this piece around health, and how much power you have in your ability to heal and to feel empowered in your health. And so my name is Nick Larson, for those of you who don't know.
I'm Kayla Larson.
And this is my wife, Kayla. And together we started the School of Potential, which is really, I view it as a holistic approach to personal growth, a way for us to really expand who we are and create the life that we truly want to live by really learning more about ourselves and our human potential.
By learning and applying principles of growth and success and improving our health, wealth, and happiness in all other categories.
Absolutely. And so I want to welcome you on here. Feel free to pop your cameras on and stay engaged. Type in the chat, ask questions, maybe even just type in the chat as you're hopping on. We've got a few more people who are joining us. And let us know in the chat where you're from. Where are you tuning in from? It's always interesting to see who joins us here. But by all means, pop your cameras on. It's always nice as a presenter to have faces to speak to. And we really want to make this as much like a in-person event as we possibly can, because nothing beats those in-person connections and conversations. And so the more we can see your beautiful faces, the better. Welcome. Lots of people from Regina. Awesome. I think we have a few people from Manitoba as well. Kayla and I are located out on in Nanaimo, out on Vancouver Island.
Sweetest place on earth.
Awesome. So yeah, if with that being said, we're just going to hand this over because I want to give our guest speaker here tonight as much time as possible to dive into some incredible material. And so with that being said, I want to welcome on here Pala Gillis. And Pala is, of course, a member of the Conscious Creators group here with us and a graduate of one of our programs we run at the School of Potential, Thinking the Results. And so between her career as a chiropractor and her dedication to personal growth, I can't think of anybody more equipped to share with you on the power of that exists within you and the power that you have to heal your body. So welcome, Pala.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and honored everybody's taken time out of their busy days to come and join to listen to this discussion that I have on health. It's a topic that I'm just very passionate about and feel very strongly about our magnificent vehicle we have that is a body, and the power that we really have within us to stay healthy and sometimes, to heal. The healing process is always occurring inside of us. And I think wherever we are on our health journey, we always have to understand that we can always make improvements and heal. It doesn't matter whether you have a disease that you're healing from and you need to you're hoping to see some physical changes in your body, or if you're physically healthy, but there's still always improvement you can make because your mental emotional component of your health is a very, very big factor, which you're going to find out here this evening. So wherever you're on in your journey, you have to know that that's where you are and that's where you're meant to be at this point. We should never beat ourselves up over where we are or feel frustrated by where we are. We have to just accept that that's where we are and you're meant to be there, and whatever you're meant to learn in order to move forward is available to you. So I love the quote that the journey of a thousand miles starts with a single step. So you always have to be thinking to move forward in your health, even if that's one tiny step. I like to think in terms of really throughout our life, we're always on a health journey. So we're on this sort of journey or path, right? If you're going one direction, you're going in the direction of health, which hopefully we can be moving that way. Sometimes we have challenges in our life and we might be, going the opposite direction, which is going in the direction of illness. But we always know that if we get on the right track, we can start moving back towards a healthier state, and always trying to improve ourselves. Yeah, so that's to get started with. I think that's very important to just always be aware of that, of the journey that we're taking, right? So first of all, I want to talk about stress. Just a couple points to remember here in regards to stress. So it has been declared by the World Health Organization to be the health epidemic of the 21st century. Now that might have been a stat from before COVID, but I think this applies more than ever with the pandemic that we've faced. It's responsible for up to 90% of doctors' visits. To me, that's very astounding. It's like, okay, we need to understand about stress and learn how to manage stress if we're going to, sort of make a dent in our health. And it's estimated to cost the American business up to $300 billion per year. So this is something that really needs to be looked at, and we need to have a way to better manage stress so that we can have better health. Absolutely, I feel very strongly about that. Now we're going to talk about our nervous system, because basically we can think of stress. Stress it's our mind and body's way of coping with the external environment. So our body responds to the external environment through our nervous system. Our brain and nervous system is always picking up information as to the things that are going on around us, our environment, how hot or cold it is, whatever, what somebody says to you, just every sort of thing, right? Our nervous system is picking that up. So we need to understand our nervous system a little bit. And the one component of our nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. Now, this part of the nervous system is looking after our body and all the automatic processes of our body without us even knowing what's going on. It's got this amazing intelligence within the body that's having an effect on our heart rate, our blood pressure, our digestive system. It's just doing so much behind the scenes that we just don't even know about. So the autonomic nervous system has two branches. So first of all, it's got the sympathetic nervous system, which this is the fight or flight response, and it's there for a reason. So if you're being chased by a predator, then you have to get away fast, and your body goes into this sympathetic response in order to get away from that danger situation. So it's designed for survival and protection. The other part is the parasympathetic nervous system. And now animals have the amazing ability that once the threat is gone, they can relax and go back to eating grass and being very calm and relaxed, right? Which is a rest and repair response. So this is very important because this is the time when our body is doing healing and repairing. Our cells are always turning over, building new cells. Old cells are dying away. So our body's always regenerating. I like to, I hear all the time from, patients or whoever you talk to, it's like, oh, well, I'm just getting older, right? Well, I know that despite the fact that our age is getting older, really biologically, we can get healthier or stay healthy at least, right? We have that ability. So I think it's a good point to just try never to say that to yourself. Try never to say, oh, I'm just getting older, because if you say that, then that's what you're telling your body, right? So it's a good thing to try not to say that, and just know that your body does always have the ability to get healthier than your present state. Okay, so now we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at the sympathetic response. Now, the thing with our lives now is that is that the sympathetic response was designed to get away from danger, but in our world today, just by thought alone, we bring on the sympathetic response. So this is the fight or flight response, and it results, a few things that it results in your body is an increased heart rate. It's got reduced intestinal function. The circulation is shunted away from your digestive organs because it's a time where your circulation has to go to your extremities so you can run away really fast. So if you're in a stress state, your digestive system is not getting the nutrients that it needs. It results in an increased glucose insulin levels. Now, again, if you have to get away from danger fast, then you need that spike of energy, and your body releases glucose into your bloodstream. If you have high glucose and insulin levels, you're going to have a really hard time losing weight. So this is a really important point there, because if you're trying to lose weight, but you're always in a state of stress, then it's going to be very difficult. It results in a suppressed immune system. Now, I think that's really important in today's time. We want to have a healthy immune system. And if you are in danger or being chased by a wild animal, it's not a time where the energy of your body needs to go to the immune system. That is saved for later when the danger is past. So that's the way the body works in order to kind of process the energies in our body, right? And it results in very reflexive behavior. So, you know, you're sort of reacting to the environment and yeah, being very reflexive in your responses. The other really cool thing that I didn't put on here, but I've learned recently, I need a drink of water, is that if you're in a stress response, the acidity level in your body elevates, which the pH in your body is very important for a healthy state. So if you an alkaline state, you bring that about by eating lots of fruits and vegetables, foods that are sort of higher in processed, you know, your sugars are going to put your body into a state of acidity, and stress will put your body into an acidic state, and virus love an acidic environment. So I find that very interesting too. So we don't want an acidic environment, which the state of stress will bring on. Okay, now we're going to go to the parasympathetic response. So this is, we need to learn how to get into this parasympathetic response. It's very important. So this has a sort of a life affirming or a healing ability when we're in that parasympathetic response. And it's going to lower your heart rate. So your heart rate's going to be at a more favorable level in a state of rest. You're going to have improved intestinal function because that circulation is going to your intestines. It'll lower your insulin levels. So again, helps to regulate that whole, you know, glucose, insulin, fat storage kind of process that our body does so beautifully. We have an improved immune response. So yeah, well, your immunity will be working properly in order to fight off any invaders that are present. This results in the release of anti-aging hormones. That's we all want that, of course. The hormone DHEA is an anti-aging hormone. So you know, if you're accessing that parasympathetic response, it's going to help with your vitality. And just, you always see people who are maybe 70 years old and look like they're 40. Well, it's probably because they have a good balance to their nervous system, and they are in that parasympathetic response. And it results in conscious thinking. So you access higher kind of cortical areas of your brain, and you're able to problem solve better, open yourself up to ideas. It's just, yeah, better memory, all sorts of benefits that way. Okay, so this is really cool, because when you think of the control that you have simply by the way you're responding to the external environment, We can't always be like relaxing in order to get to that parasympathetic response, but we do always have a choice with whatever we're doing in order to access that response. And there needs to be a balance. It's not that we want to live completely in the parasympathetic response. I mean, the sympathetic response is there for a reason too, but it's important that we have a balanced nervous system. So our nervous system is really the greatest pharmacy in the world, because depending on what sort of state we're in or what sort of emotions we have present in our body determines the biochemicals, the hormones that are present in our body, which is really, all those hormones are communicating with each other. And I mean, it's just an amazing system, right? Our body has this wonderful intelligence going on. So I think that's a really important point to know, that we can balance all those things in our body simply by our own thoughts and emotions. Okay. What have I got next? Okay, so here we go with some cell stuff, because I don't worry, I won't get too complicated, but this is just really cool. So here's a picture of a cell. I purposely chose kind of a complex one, because basically a cell is sort of a mini version of our whole body. In every cell, of course, you need a microscope to see a cell, but in every cell, there's a whole bunch of organs, and the big blob in the middle is like the nucleus of the cell that houses our genetic information. That's where our DNA is stored. So it's just an amazing structure, because there's so many things going on in one single cell. Now, our body is made of 50 trillion cells. It's basically, our body is basically a community of 50 trillion cells. So those cells are all doing their thing and communicating with each other. So yeah, when we look at each other, it's like, well, we're not really a body. We're actually this community of 50 trillion cells. So those spiky things on the surface of the cell, that's the cell membrane, and there is receptors on that cell membrane. And that's basically what's picking up the information that is on the environment of that cell, or the internal constitution of our body. And that is like the nervous system. So that's like the brain of the cell, is the cell membrane, because it's picking up and then sending those signals to the inside of the cell. So that's a really important thing. Now, what sort of signals is it picking up? Now, this is really cool. So cells detect information from the environment that surrounds them. And so they're picking up and then influencing, what's going on inside the cell based upon the chemistry of our body. So the neurotransmitters, the biochemicals of our body, the hormones of our body, they're receiving messages from that. And also the third thing is the energy that is surrounding that cell. Now, a cell is kind of like a battery. So it's got a negative charge on the inside, a positive charge on the outside. Every cell, there's an amount of energy given off from one single cell. And then of course, our whole body is energy as well. And that the energetic signal that the cell is receiving is actually about 100 times greater. Like the effect of that is 100 times greater than the chemicals and the hormones. So that's a really important thing, because we have to give full attention to the energy. And what determines the energy? Well, that's our thoughts and emotions, is what's determining the energy that basically is impacting whether that cell is healthy or not. So we have to give so much attention to this, because it's so essential for health and healing. What else was I going to say about that? Okay, so now let's think of, we've got this one cell floating around in, and there's lots of different kinds of cells. So there's blood cells, there's skin cells, there's stomach cells, like there's nerve cells, right? All a little bit different, but they're all floating around inside of your body in like the fluid that's inside of our body or the blood. And that environment is determining how that cell is doing. So think of all those cells being in like an ocean, right? They're all like in there, and the quality of the ocean is sort of what's determining what the cell is doing. And like, of course, interestingly enough, we sort of tend to view illness by trying to correct the chemicals and the hormones through medication, which can be good, but if you haven't changed the sort of that energetic component, you're really it only has like so much potential, right? And not that like the medical advances we have and all the medicine we have available is like wonderful. I'm super thankful for that. I mean, it saved my life with having one of my babies, but we have to know that we need to take the responsibility to do our part in order to sort of improve the health of that ocean that's inside of us. Now, I have a good little analogy that hopefully helps kind of put this all in context. So rather than an ocean, I've picked an aquarium. Now imagine if you have an aquarium and the fish represent the cells. Now, so you've got like dirty, murky water, right? It's like those fish are probably not going to be very healthy. So if they're not healthy, it's like, okay, well, you can give them medicine to help them, but are they really going to get fully healthy if you haven't cleaned the water, right? So so what we want to do then is, of course, keep a clean kind of system so each of those cells can be healthy. And we do that by, well, first of all, we have control over the chemicals and the hormones through our own thoughts and feelings, because that's affecting whether we're in sympathetic or parasympathetic response. But secondly, through the energy that we're carrying, we are greatly influencing those cells as well. Okay, so now I want I just want to talk a little bit about stress, because stress is not just like, oh my God, I'm stressed out and I need to go on stress leave. So as I start to talk about it, if anybody wants to share, just type in the chat a quick example of maybe something that was a stressor in the last couple of days for you. But yeah, as you're doing that, and feel free to share, I'm just going to think of a few examples, because we just face this all the time, right? And I mean, even for myself, like I think back to before I got started down this path, it's like, I didn't realize that I was sort of in a stress state more than I should. I felt very overwhelmed with life because I always had, a to-do list a mile long, and I have 5 lovely kids. So it's like, there's always things to do at home, and you're trying to keep up with the kids and the housework, and sort of, like that feeling of overwhelm. That's a state of stress, of course, right? The feeling of guilt, when we carry these guilt feelings from something in the past, it's like, well, that's a state of stress, right? Let's see, if we're carrying resentment towards something that's happened in the past, that's of course a state of stress. And when we get in some of those emotional states of resentment or guilt, we sort of tend to hang on to them. They sort of, it becomes like a addiction, right? We sort of just are in that state all the time, which means we're in this constant state of stress. Running late with clients. Yeah, for sure. I know when you're always in a rush, and actually I was completely like that. I would be like, I know I wouldn't show my stress, but I'd get behind at the office, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to like keep up and I got to rush, right? So I'm giving all my attention to the stress, which therefore only brings about more stress. Trying to finish papers and reports. Yeah, feeling that pressure of the deadline, right? Which is sort of like this need for achievement that we have. We always, think that we have to overcommitting myself. Yeah, it's like, hi, Regan. I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, it's like you've got too many commitments, and you realize that it's going to be hard to keep up with all of those. It's like, yeah, stress, right? So certainly there are just so many things. Watching, oh, I love that one. Watching the news, absolutely. Caring for multiple generations, yeah, like, you know, we have so many stresses in our lives. Yeah, what else was I going to say about that stress one? Oh, I think another big one is judgment. When we judge other people, you're really not harming the other person, but it's like you're drinking the poison yourself. You are harming your system. You're putting your system into an acidic state. You're causing all those stress hormones to be released in your body. And when you look at all the judgments that's going on around here, it's crazy. Worrying about the state of the world. Yes, no kidding. Worry is COVID cases in my home. Yeah, buying into guilt or shame. All those ones, I know. And the thing is too, you know, I think we have not been taught properly how to deal with emotions and manage our emotions. You know, we're told from a young age, like, don't worry about how you feel, or don't worry about that. Just listen to what I'm saying or whatever, right? I think for me, it was just kind of like ignored. It just wasn't talked about, right? So we haven't been taught that. And I mean, I know I haven't done perfectionism or not feeling like you're good enough. Oh, perfectionism is a huge one. Absolutely. But yeah, I know I wish I would have known this material back when my kids were young, because I mean, even myself, like, I feel like I could have done a better job of teaching them how to manage emotions, but that's okay. I mean, I'm glad to know this now. So yeah, I think that what we're going through and this challenge with the pandemic is actually one of the big reasons that this is happening, is that we need to evolve to a better level of emotional intelligence in order to kind of cope in our changing times and expand as people, and as the universe is expanding, we have to keep up with that growth. It basically boils down to mastering our consciousness. Our consciousness basically is like our thoughts, feelings, attitudes. And so we need to elevate our own consciousness in order to keep up with the world and to manage through the chaos of our world. And the good news is that can be done. It is possible. And now I'm going to pretty soon shift into, on a more positive note, on how we can do that. Okay, now what I want you to do though is, and you can type in the chat on this one too, is I want you to think of something that just makes you feel really good. It could have been something in the past, or it could be something completely imaginary. It could be a holiday. Just take a moment to think of something that really puts you in a good emotional state. Different good emotional states would be, you know, a feeling of calmness, a feeling of peace, being with my grandkids, being in nature. Yeah, nature is great. A great song. Music is awesome too. Yeah, laughing with anyone. Yes, laughter. My daughter told me the other day, laughter is the best medicine, Mom, as she wanted me to tell her a funny story. Thinking about sailing. Yes. Now these are all very powerful things. Like, the question to me being is connecting with others in empowering conversations. Oh, isn't that the truth? Hiking, love it. And kayaking. Yes. Puppies. Yes, sitting there with your pet. So my challenge to everybody now is to ask yourself, how can you bring that feeling that you get from those things or situations to your everyday life? Because to me, that is possible, and that's essential. Our job is to live in a state of happiness or joy or love or calmness or whatever it may be, those higher level emotions. Gratitude is, of course, a big one, which we're going to talk more about this now. Okay, so what we want to do first of all is stress is now an untransformed opportunity for empowerment. First of all, I think we sort of, by focusing on stress and going, oh, I need to get rid of this stress, we're giving attention to it. And we want to try to build into our mental system to actually give it less attention. I actually think as well in regards to health and illness, we give all our attention to illness. We need to give our attention to health. We need to think health, right? Because what we give our attention to is going to magnify in our lives. And when you think on a collective basis, right, we're giving all our attention to illness. So it's just going to magnify it, right? So I love this sort of quote here, because if we can see this as an opportunity for empowerment, we can build empowerment in ourselves in order to overcome those stress states. Okay. Okay, that's not working now. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I love quotes. It's always lots to learn from, very intelligent people from the past. So always love this quote. So the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So I've always known how powerful this is, but I mean, to tell you the truth, to start with, I don't think I really fully understood what that meant. So of course, the rational mind, now I want us to think now, the rational mind is our head brain. And we use our head brain to be, like rationally thinking, logically thinking, analyzing everything, filling our brains with knowledge, which is important, but you're going to learn right away. We have to have a balance here. And we're also always creating problems in our head brain. So, it's like, oh, he said this to me. And, it's like, oh, I wish he would have said that to me. Or, you're worrying about the future. That's all happening inside of our head brain. So that sometimes is often just a source of problems and stress arising, right? The intuitive mind. Now, what the heck is the intuitive mind, right? It's like I've always been intrigued with intuition. But yeah, the intuitive mind is basically, I've come to understand, it's basically our heart brain. So that's what we're going to sort of come to learn about here is what the heart brain is and how we can use that and create balance between our head brain and our heart brain, because that's a very, very important thing in order to regulate stress and manage stress in our lives. Okay, I think I have, okay, so heart brain communication. So now in the 90s, it was discovered that there are nerve cells in our heart. And they're the same, they're very much the same as brain cells. In fact, they carry a memory in people who have had heart transplants. That memory sometimes is carried to the heart transplant recipient, which is amazing. And our heart is also, it's the biggest emotional center in our body. So this is where our emotions are stored. So now those nerve cells in our heart, which are very much like brain cells, are sending signals up to our brain. So there's a communication happening there. And there's actually more nerve cells going from the heart to the brain than there is the other way around, going from the brain to the heart. So this is such an important thing to know. I've done some studying and through HeartMath, and so I'm a HeartMath certified trainer. So I've learned about how we can access this intelligence that's within our heart. Now, I think I have one more quote here. So I love this one too. As a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he be. It's not as a man thinketh in his head, so shall he be. So we really need to understand a little bit more about what this heart brain is. Okay, so as I say, the heart is like our emotional center. So emotions that people associate with the heart, such as care, compassion, and gratitude, they affect the heart rhythm and the quality of the neural signals being sent to the brain. Now, this is just so fascinating because it's like that heart is generating a signal that is being carried up to the brain. And then the brain is then determining whether your body is going into sympathetic or parasympathetic response. So it's sort of a pathway of heart, brain, and then body, right? Which is having a huge effect on our health. I could add to those emotions such as love, forgiveness, again, as I said before, calmness, appreciation. So all those emotions are associated with the heart. That's how we access this intelligence that's within the heart. Okay, now, as part of what I do sometimes at the office now, and for any of you on my call that come to see me at the office, and if I haven't already done this, don't worry, I'll get to you, honest. I now can do what's called, I measure people's heart rate variability. So the heart rate variability is what's determining that signal that's going up to your brain from your heart. So let's look at the lower chart there. Now that is called a coherent signal. So basically what's happening in your heart is as you breathe in, you can see along the left there, that axis is your heart rate, and it's going up and down. Your heart rate is actually going up and down, which is fluctuating, first of all, with the breath. So as you breathe in, your heart rate is going up, and as you breathe out, your heart rate is going down. So it's going up and down in that nice smooth rhythm, which creates a coherent state. And if there's coherence with that signal, then there's coherence in the body, there's coherence and balance, and all the systems are working together. Now, of course, the other thing that affects that is our emotions, right? Appreciation, love, care. As opposed to the top chart, that's an incoherent pattern. So of course, you can see it's very jagged. And it's just so amazing when I do this on people at the office. It's like when we do a baseline, it'll often be in that incoherent pattern. But then when we go through a little exercise, then it's like right away it shifts into that nice coherent pattern. So we have the ability to get our heart into that coherent pattern, which is then, having such an effect, which we're going to continue to talk about. But now I just want to take you through a little couple-minute exercise on just creating that coherence. This technique is called the heart lock-in technique. So first of all, well, if you want, you can close your eyes. You don't have to, but if you want, you can close your eyes. So I want you to just focus on the area of your heart, because where you give your attention to is where you're giving your energy. And we want to have that energy just right in the area of the heart. Now I want you to slow down your breathing and keep it nice and relaxed, but slow down your breathing, imagining that breath going right to the area of your heart. And you're drawing in the energy that's around you, and it's a nice white light going into your heart. So nice and slow and relaxed. And then lastly, I also want you to think of a regenerating emotion, such as compassion or gratitude. So if you think of a situation or a circumstance in the past where you felt that type of emotion, or it can be something completely imaginary, as we had put in the chat, maybe it's a time in nature, or maybe it's sitting there with your pet, or maybe it's sitting there holding your baby, or maybe it's you're on a holiday and sitting at the beach. And then you just remember to take those nice breaths and think about what you're feeling in your body, because it's good to be aware of what a coherent state feels like. Sometimes you feel a sense of expansion kind of in your heart area. When you're in negative emotions, it's often more of a contracted feeling. And the point is that this can be done sort of like, you don't need to sit down and do 10 minutes of meditation. It's sort of good that it can be done on the go. You can always shift to that state of gratitude or beauty. I sometimes think too, in these winter months, it's like I look out my window in the morning and I just like soak in that beautiful sunrise, right? There's beauty all around us in nature, or just, you know, sometimes things people say or do to you, like there's beauty in that too. So you sort of give your attention to those sorts of things. Okay, so now that we've sort of hopefully felt what that feeling of coherence feels like, and you have to be patient with yourself, because this does take practice. If you don't feel anything different in your body, that's fine too. Don't think you're doing it wrong. It's a different journey for everyone, but the point being is that we need to be sort of doing this regularly in order to train our system to become more coherent. Because if you do work on this regularly, your baseline will shift and become more coherent. And that's the beauty of it, because that's when your body is in just a much more of a self-healing state, when you are accessing that coherent pattern. Okay, so here's another quote. "The seat of knowledge is in the head, the wisdom in the heart. We are sure to judge wrong if we do not feel right." I thought I'd put this on here because when you tap into that intelligence in the heart, you tend to kind of let go of that judgment, right? It's a way of letting go of judgment. Judgment is when you're in your head brain. So yeah, it sort of helps to overcome that judgment. And getting back in the beginning, when we were talking about the intuitive mind, when you are accessing that heart intelligence, that's how you're opening yourself up to your intuitive mind. Your answers will just come to you when you're in that state of coherence. You know, you can use that exercise of coherence, like if you have a little small problem or something, you kind of have your mind on that, but then you shift into coherence and drop down into your heart, and then you just listen to what comes up, right? And sometimes, you know, answers will come to you. If it's not right in the moment, maybe it might be, you know, 4 or 5 hours later. Another really cool thing is they've done measurements on, like, if you're in a state of coherence, your IgA levels, which is an immune system marker, are elevated, but they're not just elevated in the moment. They're actually elevated for about 4 hours if you've done that for like 4 or 5 minutes. So there's a carryover effect. If you do it for 5 minutes, it's like the systems of your body still remember, and they're just, your immune system is going to be, you know, functioning better. Again, all those things we talked about in the beginning of the blood glucose and digestive function and everything, that's all going to be working better too. Very cool. I just love this stuff. Okay, so now, well, I think I'm almost through, and we'll have a little bit of time for questions, but our bodies are energy, and the heart, being the emotional center, is the largest. It gives off the largest electromagnetic field of the organs in our body. In fact, it gives off an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times greater than what's coming from your brain. That's just amazing to me. So we really need to learn how to utilize this power we have within us. So as on that picture, if we're in a state of love, we have this big electromagnetic field that's emanating around us. It can be measured up to 10 feet away from us, versus if you're in a state of fear or stress, then you have a contracted electromagnetic field. We all know sometimes when somebody walks into a room, you can sort of pick up that energy level. You know what kind of that they're in a stress state, or that there's tension there, right? Another really cool study that they've done, this Heart Math has done like tons and tons of research, and they continue to do. But if a person has that, you know, that coherence and has that nice big electromagnetic field, and they bring in an animal that they're also measuring, that animal will go to the same coherent pattern. So it's called entrainment. So just think of how we're affecting others around us, because anybody who's in that electromagnetic field, they're more likely to also entrain to the same electromagnetic field. But of course, it's difficult in humans, because it's like, well, if one person has got this like kind of a contracted electromagnetic field and the other one hasn't expanded, sometimes there's some, trading off there. But the cool thing is that really you can affect others by being in this expanded state of love or gratitude, compassion. I can tell you from experience that, like, as a parent, it's like, oh, it's just a game changer, because, I have learned, and it's taken me time, and I'm still not always perfect, but when I come from a place of care and compassion, when I'm dealing with my kids, it changes the outcome so much. And that's hard sometimes, because when they've got a problem or they're fighting, I know I used to always get like, oh, frustrated, and it's like, okay, I got to fix their problem, right? And you're in this like, what am I going to do kind of, and then their energy is feeding off mine, and theirs is I'm feeding off theirs, right? So when you just ground yourself and take a moment to take a couple deep breaths and get back into that state of compassion, and then talk to them from a place of compassion, of course, the tone and the words you say are just so much different, and it's like a life changer. This heart math is really great for in the workplace too, because sometimes, like, say if you have to go into an important meeting, and again, it can just be done on the go. Nobody needs to even know you're doing it. You just sort of give that bit of attention to the heart, take your deep breaths, and yeah, come from a place of think of something to be grateful for, and suddenly you operate better. Your brain is working better. Okay, so I just want to quickly go over. Now this list is kind of long, but benefits of heart coherence. There's lots of benefits to it. So it balances our autonomic nervous system. That is a big kind of plus of that, is it's achieving this balance between that sympathetic parasympathetic state, which, as we discussed in the beginning, is what our body needs in order to be in a state of health. It enhances our immunity. It improves our hormonal balance. It results in a reduced inflammatory response, which is responsible, of course, for a lot of diseases, digestive, autoimmune, you name it. More efficient brain function. So when you're in that coherent state, you're accessing higher levels of your brain. You can think more straight. You're open to answers. You have better memory. This is a great thing for students. If you're going into an exam, just if they can stay calm and not allow themselves to get stressed, they will do better in that exam. Reduced emotional drain. So it's like that energy field. You can sort of think of it that it's like if you're in a negative state, then you're really draining your energy, right? And you always want to be replenishing your energy. Enjoy more stress-free living. A greater sense of connection. Now, this is what we all need today too. Everybody seems to be kind of living in this state of separation, and that has been getting worse and worse over the last 2 years. And we really need to come together and be connected, because we are all one. We all come from the same energy field, and we are all one. And I know as well, and I've so fortunate to be part of the community with Nick and everyone else, that we really feel that sense of connection, even though we've never been together physically, right? And we're open to intuition as well. So that's another great benefit of it. Okay, I have one more quote to leave you with. I just want to try to. Okay. Okay, well, anyways, everybody's thing is hiding I'll see if I can read this. I am free to change, oh boy, Okay, I don't know if I can, let's see, need to move this. Okay, there. I am free to change how I respond to the world. As I change the way I see the world, I change my genetic expression. We are not victims of our genes. We are masters of our genetics. And that's by Bruce Lipton. So it's, we literally have, you know, we can be masters of our genetics. We literally change our genetic expression. And how, you know, the DNA in our body, when we learn to regulate our emotions and choose positive thoughts, we always have choice with in every moment as to, you know, how the thoughts we're thinking and the emotions we're feeling. And it does take time to change, because I know they're very habitually ingrained in us, but I mean, it does change with time. I know that from experience. It's taken me almost 2 years to really change around my thoughts and feelings. And I know I still have further to go, but it's a really fun journey. So now, lastly, then this has brought me then to also have developed a program, which I just want to take 2 minutes to tell you about. The program is called A Healthier You. And there's the website if you want to just jot it down. Now, if you go on that website, I've got a link for free videos from HeartMath. It's a lovely video series. There's 9 videos which will help you learn more about this that system with your heart, and they're completely free. You just have to sign up, but there's no cost to it. And then the program that I've developed 10 lessons. So those lessons are understanding your health. So just, you know, how understanding the different things that are affecting our health, not just our physical health, all the other things too. A powerful mind, emotions, the autonomic nervous system, the mind-body connection, the body's energy, the physical body, self-image, believing in your health, and habits. So each of those lessons is like 15 to 20 minutes long, and they're professional videos that I've done or had the help of somebody else to do. So that is just all sorts of great information in there. I'd open it up to any questions, comments, just any shares. If anybody has just any things that, you know, popped out at you, I'd love to hear about it.
Well, I'll hop on here right away and just say thank you so much, Paula, for sharing your time here and your wisdom with this. I've taken so much away. I've got questions, and if I've got questions, I know other people have questions too. So, you know, like you said, open it up here. We're willing to stick around for a while and answer any questions you guys have, or just kind of have that discussion. Like we said, having this connection with empowering conversations together, you feel the difference. Hey, just even though we're not physically together, just having these conversations that you have the power to change your health and to take control of that is so huge. So thank you so much, Paula. And please jump on that offer that Paula's offering you, because it's phenomenal. The information she shares is just exceptional.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I have 3 pages of notes here. I'm a physio myself, so I'm always trying to bring information, and you've just done such a wonderful job of, it's like main things I took away. It's like the body has the capacity to heal. The power that made the body can heal the body. It's about learning how, and you're willing to share about how you can, you know, tap into that intuitive heart, how to get yourself into an environment where you can heal. And both me and you know that reverse aging is possible. There are people who have, you know, been in a state of complete disease, even like a stage 4 cancer, have used this material and to reverse that. And it's all about the environment and who you surround yourself by. So I'm so grateful to be surrounded with Paula and Paula and everyone else in our Conscious Creator group that's really bringing so much awareness to health and the holistic point of it. And I think that, just like you said, that everybody is always, there's no ceiling to the improvements you can make in your physical body. There is no ceiling to the emotional intelligence you can experience. And there's no ceiling to your spiritual connection to the divine and to Mother Earth. So thank you so much for sharing all of this material. I can't wait to review it and go look into some of that. I know you got me studying Bruce Lipton's work, and I absolutely love how belief changes biology.
Right, get that heart into coherent pattern, and you're going to be activating that parasympathetic system. So yeah, always. Now again, that's where it's like you bring that level of joy or contentment or happiness to your everyday life. We don't have to wait for a vacation or for a better job or for a better house in order to be happy. We really have the ability and the capacity within us to be happy for the fact that we woke up in the morning. Yay, right? It's like, yeah, be happy for the fact that we live in today's day and age where we can communicate with people so easily because of our cell phones. I'm happy about having indoor plumbing, right? I'm glad we don't live 100 years ago when we didn't have that. So just like really choosing those small things to just be happy about, it accesses a powerful force within us. I think of it now as literally that, a powerful force that is activating this intelligence of our body. Like I know from personal experience, it's like as I've learned to be happy or to feel love and compassion like every day and hopefully frequently, it's like life just has such a greater, like a deeper meaning, and everything just like, I just appreciate everything so much. It's really amazing. So yeah, it's just important to always look for ways to find that happiness, because that's what's helping you to use and to shift into parasympathetic response instead of being in that fight or flight response of the sympathetic state 24/7 as I think a lot of us are. And that's the thing, as we were talking, and when we talked about stress, we're just so blinded by that. Like, I know I was like, I would have, if somebody would have asked me, I'd be like, well, no, I'm fine, right? Because I just stuff my emotions and just like barrel right through everything and pretend everything's fine. And I think a lot of us we really have to take an honest inventory of how whether we're getting into that heart coherence or parasympathetic. We blame so many diseases on our genetics. There are a few diseases that are truly genetic, but as far as like heart disease, cancer, I really truly believe that it's only genetic in the fact that the beliefs are carried through that family, right? Certain patterns of thoughts and feelings, beliefs, right? Bruce Lipton talks about that in his book. It's these beliefs that are passed through families, and I 100% really believe that. And we all need to take responsibility for changing that, because it takes a certain generation to say, no, I don't need to be like that, right? But it's hard. It is a generational thing. I totally agree. So I would say, I don't know that you want to put it in the present tense. So you want to say, I'm grateful for, but I think most important is to allow yourself to feel the feeling of gratitude and not just think gratitude thoughts. And that again takes a while to strengthen that feeling. But yeah, you want to feel that really ultimate gratitude in your heart from, if you can think of a time where you just, maybe somebody gave you something or whatever it may be that you're grateful for. So it's the feeling that you want to kind of drop into. So no matter how you say it, whatever, I would say whatever words kind of work for you, other than making it present tense, right? Yeah. Yeah. So if you're in coherence, but the other person is not. Yeah, well, that's a very good question. It's not, you can never force somebody to change. And sometimes you can't. If they're open to learning about it, then you can sort of like teach them that. but I totally get it if they won't. You can't force that. I think ultimately you do need to say though, like, I don't need to allow somebody else's emotional state to impact me, or I don't even need to let what they say to me or what they do affect my emotional state or my coherence, that I am responsible for my own internal state. I don't need to be affected by the external environment. And that is a hard thing too, because, that's where we stew over things. We get frustrated over something. We get angry at somebody, at what somebody says to us. And sometimes it's not even what they had intended, but it's how we take it, right? So I think ultimately just taking responsibility for our own emotional state and our internal state, and that's what I've always tried to tell myself. Okay, like, I'm responsible for how I feel. Nobody can take that from me. I don't need to give my power away. You're basically doing that. If somebody, makes you feel irritated, it's like, well, you're giving your power away when you're irritated, right? Because it's like you're drinking the poison, right? So yeah, just trying to take control over that. And again, I know it takes time. First of all is the awareness, and not to beat yourself up. If you have a day where you kind of just feel blah, or you realize that you're angry about something, it's like, okay, well, like, you allow it for a while, but then you just know that you have the ability to get back to a more regenerative feeling, because the sooner you can, then obviously the better.
A question I had for you, Paula, that I think maybe some other people may be wondering as well. One of the biggest points I took away from your talk today was just the importance of environment, both like internal environment and external environment, like your thoughts and emotions that are taking place inside, and how that's affecting all these cells. And I love your description of how we're basically, we look at each other like we're this one thing, but we're this collection of all these cells, right? And like this ocean, and keeping that environment healthy and in a positive state. And so a question I get asked lots too from other people, and I'll ask you as well, is like, what kind of things do you do to create an environment that's conducive to this expansion of who you are, and to put yourself in those positive environments? Like, what are some of the things that you do, maybe daily practices or things like that, to bring that about?
Well, first of all, of course, every day, like, having an opportunity to sort of move your body in some way. And by that, I don't mean like vigorous exercise. I think sometimes we almost overdo the expectations for exercise on ourselves, but as long as you're moving, right, like, that sort of helps. I find, like, if you're in a bad mood, it's like sometimes if you go and move around and go for a walk or whatever, I mean, even that makes you feel better. And it's also, of course, like, helping with your body and getting that energy flowing through your body. I actually also do some work with Qigong. I've been using that because that's sort of helping with the energy movement through your body, which has been wonderful. It's very slow, like purposeful movements, and work with the breath. So that's the third thing I would say. Breathing, like, I have really taught myself, like, when I'm at work working on people, I'll just be like, sometimes I have to remind myself, okay, just like slow down my breath and make sure I'm just taking those slow, deep breaths. And then just the control over the thoughts too, right? And always, like, just, choosing positive thoughts, and just sort of allowing myself, I would say, allowing myself to feel those states of, like, of love and joy and happiness, right? And yeah, just finding a reason to just be happy, almost for no reason, right? When you've got that within you, you take it to everything you do. It's not that you are waiting for something outside of yourself to bring that state. So I think the emotional piece of it is probably the biggest one, because that's affecting that energy that's flowing in your body, right? So that is a big one. I'm trying to think of what else. I think those are the main things. Yeah.
It's interesting as you share on that piece on, like, finding that happiness now, and finding that that sense of peace in the present moment for those things that maybe you're wanting to draw into your life, whether it be health or a certain experience or creating something in your life. And it's like when you find that gratitude for just how your life is now, that's when all of that seems to flow in, because you're in that coherent state. You're in a state of gratitude, which is a receptive state. And all of a sudden, the things that you wanted all of a sudden start flowing to you. It's like you've released this resistance on it. Hey?
Yeah, I like to think of, sometimes I think of stress as being resistance. Like sometimes, resistance, it's like anytime there's resistance in your life, that's a state of stress as well, or sympathetic. So yeah, if you're resisting or trying to control things, right, then that's a source of resistance. And I really notice it too in working on people at the office. Like, if they're somebody who has a lot of that resistance, or I sort of equate it to all those, like when they have like chronically tight muscles that just really never let go, it's like, well, that's the mental state there, is like that state of resistance.
In relation to what you said just a little bit ago, talking about exercise, there's a research study that shows it's not the exercise you do, whether it's CrossFit or running, or it's not the exercise, it's your relationship with the exercise. So exactly what you're saying, it's like you could pick ping pong or pickleball or lawn bowling, but do you love being active? Do you see yourself transforming into your ideal health? And I think you just pointed that out so beautifully.
Yeah, I also have seen so many people where, that they're very driven to exercise and they're like super fit, but it's almost like they're continuing to put themselves in that state of stress when they're exercising. Because I agree, because they're doing it because they're sort of so controlling their body, and they want to have control over their body, and they want to be fit, which is wonderful. But if you're doing, if you're not bringing the happiness to it, it's like those are people that, they always have back pain, or they're always injuring themselves. And it's like, oh, like, it's like you never want to tell people to exercise less, but those are sometimes people where, and I've read about that, where, sometimes with intense exercise, that's putting you in a stress state. And if you're already in a stress state all the time, that's not helping the health of your body, right? It's fine if you know how to balance it in your life in other ways, and can do that intense exercise, but you have to know how to balance it.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, and that's why work like yours and this group that we're running here, any way to develop this emotional intelligence, to understand all of that, to decrease that stress, because it used to be, it was the saber-toothed tiger that evoked the stress kind of thing. But now it's like, it's your boss, and it's your friends, and it's, the deadlines, and it's your world, your wife and your husband, and it's all these things that start to accumulate, and one little thing, it's like, okay, that's not bad, but it just keeps building and building and building. And, in my work doing like energy healing and offering people Reiki and stuff like that, you see the accumulation of energetically what people are holding in their system that then perpetuates out into their physical body. But then, of course, what we teach big time here at the School of Potential is how that even expands further into our life conditions and circumstances that we experience.
And what you attract.
Yeah. And so the work that you're doing with emotional intelligence is so incredibly important. And I'm a big believer in school to develop the intellect. But where does one go to develop awareness and this emotional intelligence? Obviously that's part of my mission here, but I think it's so needed in our world today.
In most ancient cultures, they taught this throughout, this holistic way of being. We've kind of lost it in the last 20 years or so, especially. So I feel like it was proven by science that it's on average if there's trauma, gets passed down for 7 generations. But if you heal the trauma, it can go back and heal. So I think it's our responsibility for the future generation to start learning this and then teaching it. And in answering someone's question earlier, show by example. They might not get it right away, but they might go, well, what tea is she drinking? I'm just grateful to be alive, right? And eventually, if they get interested enough, they'll start hanging around and start looking what you're doing, what you're studying, what you're putting in your mind, and then they'll realize, oh, and then one day they'll have that experience when they go, oh, my thoughts do affect my emotions, and the emotions affect my body. It's almost common sense, but nothing's too common sense anyway, and nowadays.
I totally agree. Sometimes you just have to teach by example, and it sometimes takes a while to sort of filter through to people around you. And so sometimes there can be that sense of frustration, but we know that we have to like not be frustrated and be patient and whatever. It's okay. They will learn it. I always think, like with my kids or my family, I'm like, they will learn it when they're meant to learn it, right? And maybe for some people, especially, like they may not learn it in this lifetime. It might not be till the next lifetime. So it's like, it's all okay. You just kind of, if you're on that path to improve yourself and live in a better energy, then you're meant to, and you're meant to be one of those people that sort of help with this evolution of increasing the awareness and emotional intelligence.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. To be able to say
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. This was so great to share and have a discussion about health, and I guess thinking about it in a little bit of a different way than mainstream. But yeah.
No, this has been fantastic, Paula. I think we may have to do more of these. I've enjoyed you sharing, and I think you have so much more to offer in sharing in this, especially at a time like this in human history. And so for those of you who are on here who haven't been involved in our group before, and you'd like to learn a little bit more about the School of Potential or our Conscious Creators group, this is one of our private groups we run every Wednesday night. It's normally a closed group, but because Paula was speaking tonight, I wanted to make it public, especially with the topic. And so if you have further questions about how you can get involved in the community and kind of stay in this energy or stay in this environment to shift that thinking, reach out to one of us for sure. I'll be sure to send out an email to everybody who registered today and include some of the Paula's resources and the link to her website as well for everybody. And then some more information on the School of Potential and some of the groups we run, if that's of interest to you. I want to thank all of you for joining, and you guys have a wonderful night. Grateful for each and every one of you and for sharing space together here today. It's been fantastic. So thank you very much.
Have a beautiful and blessed evening. Love and light always. Until next time.
Take care.